Hi, and welcome to We Don't Know Wheel F1. I'm Anne.
And I'm Grace. We're two sisters who fell in love with Formula One and then decided to make a podcast to force all of our friends and family into listening to us talk about Formula One. And now here you are. And we have a guest with us today.
Hi, I'm Jamie, welcoming myself back for the second time this season.
Yay.
I feel like at this point, Jamie's an unofficial third host of the podcast.
She's our PR person.
Supposedly someday.
I know. After week 4 of school, then I'm jumping in back in.
There's always another
I've
goalpost. Like after the wedding, after the summer, after 4 weeks of school.
Yeah, can't wait to see what the next one is.
Yeah. Well, after my Halloween party.
Perfect. Thank you. I'll use that one next.
After Christmas, I'll be ready.
Can't wait to see what it is.
After the start of the new F1 season.
Exactly. Yeah.
We should
Okay,
this week I feel like you should be in charge of making the picture to represent the episode.
Yeah.
I would actually, yes, I would love that. That's a great idea.
Yes.
Perfect.
Yeah. What a good week to be a Carlos girly.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my gosh. Carlos killed it.
I was like, should speak badly about him more often because I feel like the last few weeks I've been like, listen, we all know he's not as fast as Charles. But why he's doing well? I don't know what the problem is. And now I'm like, maybe he needs to hear a little bit of like
reality check.
Yeah.
He directly heard your voice saying, you're not good enough, Carlos.
Yes. I also think he needs to not have a girlfriend.
What? I thought he does have a girlfriend now.
I feel like it's like
think that's
pictures
official
of Carlos with a girl, and I honestly haven't been reading into it. So Grace, give us the update.
I'm not as up on it as I ought to be. I apologize as the official like Carlos expert. I think he's been like seen with this Scottish model, and that they were seen together, I think, on summer break. But it seemed like very intentionally released photos of them. And that's all I've got. If it is a relationship, it's not very serious, right? It's been like a month and a half since he broke up with Issa. That's not true. It's probably been 3 months.
Probably.
Maybe even more. Who knows?
Who knows?
I lose all track of time during the summer, so don't ask me when. But did you see the pictures that Charles put out over summer break of him and his girlfriend, where it was like
they're making out in the ocean?
PR photos too, of like it's a brand deal, or like some sort of like if you put out photos at a resort, we'll give you the resort for free for a week or something.
Oh my gosh.
I'd be happy to do that with my non-existent boyfriend. It's just me. What a romantic vacation at this resort in the south of France. I'm alone in the ocean.
Okay, this might be a silly question, but what does the acronym WAG stand for?
Wives and girlfriends.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And okay, let's ask this. Is it an offensive acronym? Jamie, no response.
What if we just did like POG?
A POG?
Partners of the Grid.
I love it, James. It's so good.
That way it's inclusive.
Yeah.
We're not assuming
love
anything.
I think also like gender neutral. Love that. Secondarily, I think that part of what I maybe find offensive about the WAGs term is like it implies that their only role in life is wife and girlfriend.
Agreed.
Also, I'm sorry, but it sounds like a dog to me, like wagging a tail. Like, I don't know. It's kind of, I don't know, like their little side, like their little like trophy wag. like a little, you know, like you have
Mhm.
your little dog, your Pomeranian, and
Yeah, it's not great.
no,
You said
Yeah.
POG, right? Partners
yeah,
of the Grid.
it's leaving out the T, but I feel like Pog just sounds kind of fun. So we'll leave the T out, partners of the grid. And then that's where it's like, I don't know, they're part of it. They're here, they're contributing, and they're contributing other than just being like the little sidekick wag.
Absolutely.
I love it. I think one of the pogs I find the most interesting, although I'm not doing a lot of reading up on her, is Kelly PK.
She's been at the last couple races. Yeah.
She's around. That's Max's pog.
Oh, I saw her like, so I'm fresh off of watching the race. Grace literally
Yes,
called
she's
me.
there.
And she was there. She like hugged a couple guys, and then I saw him hug her. It's like,
Yes. It felt like he was almost going to pass over her.
I
and then
know,
was
I
like,
saw that.
"Oh."
I was like, it was a nice, like, they're there, not like a 10 races hug. It was kind of like,
No, we're friends.
we knew that was gonna happen.
Speaking of the post-race celebrations, who's Carlos winking to? But I love it. Is it just the camera? Is he
I
like,
think
that's
single
where the
Carlos
Ferrari camera is?
fully embracing his flirty energy.
I
Mm.
see. It's powerful. He needs to stay single. He
I
was
think-
wrong when he told Lando that he should get a girlfriend. That's a good idea. Like, I actually think the single energy is powerful energy. What's Lewis Hamilton doing?
Mm,
Single energy.
Exactly.
mhm. Big time. I feel like Carlos is just fully flirting with us, the audience,
The world.
the world. Like the world is his oyster.
I think you're right. Okay, can I tell you a hot take I saw about
Mm.
Carlos after I was going to say like after his win, because it feels like that. Like, it's like, you're not a Red Bull. You got on the podium. You just won the race.
Whatever you need to tell yourself, Grace.
But I saw a hot take from someone on Tumblr where they were like, why won't he look more happy? He looks so upset. And I was like,
I
feel
thought
like
both him and Charles seemed very happy after the race.
I know.
For good reason.
The Charles Ferrari
yeah.
girlies, they will find something to be upset about.
Always. Yeah,
I
Grace sent some wild takes. Were those from Tumblr?
Yes, of course they
Where
were.
there was one person who was like, how could Ferrari
Oh, yeah.
not, like, I don't know, what were they? I gotta remind
I'll
myself.
pull
But they
some
were
up.
truly wild.
The announcers were all over it. They're like, thank you, Ferrari boys, for giving us a good show. It was like the most action we've seen in a race or something. Like, let the Ferrari boys loose. Let's
Let
see
'em
it.
So there was one take of someone being like, how could Ferrari not like switch Charles and Carlos somehow, because Charles was faster and it would have helped get both of them off the podium, and they could have like held off
Yes.
Checo. And then the other one was saying,
James, what
that-
do you think of that? The way you're nodding your head back there.
I don't think, when I read that, I was just like, really? Do you think that would have, that if they let Charles go by, do we really think that he would have also held off Checo?
Well, he didn't hold off
Ex-
Checo one time.
No.
Like,
Exactly.
No.
So I was like, how, what's the strategy there? No, I don't buy it. I'm not subscribing to that one. Next.
okay, I think the theoretical strategy would be, once Max had passed Carlos, if Carlos and Charles switched, Charles could go faster and like take Carlos in his DRS and like go faster to stay ahead of Checo. But Checo passed both of them individually.
yeah, and
there's
then
not really logic to this strategy.
It's Red Bull against Ferrari. It's not Checo against like Charles. To me, it's like, it's just the car difference right now.
Yeah, 100%. It's the car difference.
well, and I will also say, like, Charles and Carlos were very close in the car this weekend, but Carlos was definitely driving the car better.
I mean, he was the one who was
He got
like
pole.
ahead in practice sessions and got pole. And
Charles
when they both had no
multiple
tires at the end, Carlos won.
Mhm.
And Charles talked multiple times about how he was like having trouble coming to grips with the car.
Yeah,
whereas Carlos was like, I'm on something this weekend.
Yeah, he was.
Did you watch the post-race interview with the three of them, Grace?
No, I'm a bad person. I was at work. I thought I should stop watching this. No one tell anyone that. Let's keep it in the pod.
Yeah.
The reason I brought this up was that at one point Carlos was asked, like, is this your best weekend you've ever had in Formula One? And he said, like, this year 100%. Ferrari probably, but he thought he had like better days in McLaren possibly. But like, yeah, this is I think the strongest weekend that Carlos has had all year. It was so impressive.
Yeah.
Yes. And it felt like he was mentally in a really good place. And I'm just like, so who's figuring out what that play? Do you like that? I'm like, Carlos's strategy team. So what was different this weekend? Let's figure it out and recreate it.
You should go be Ferrari's like team sports psychologist, Grace.
I'll just go back to school.
But then you would have like
for the fifth time
psychology. Yeah,
you would never have a chance with him though if you did that, because patient client, like that's just never gonna happen. So
James is like, actually that will totally ruin your chances with him, but it would be a great fan fiction. No. It would make me deeply uncomfortable though. I feel like I really struggle in like fan fiction romance novels when I'm like, this is a deeply unethical choice. I actually can't read the rest of this because I'm just so upset by that idea.
What if, okay, where does this fall in the line of ethics? What if you're like assistant to
the regional manager
and just like whispering into their ear, but not the direct line? Is there still a chance with Carlos then?
Maybe. Or like if you're an outside consultant and you're brought in like briefly just to deal with like team psychology, not with an individual driver, I think it's more ethically okay. Yeah. Right. But what a great Ferrari weekend considering the season.
Yeah.
And I love that it happened at Monza.
Yeah.
I think my favorite like Ferrari love at Monza was in the post-race show, which if you guys haven't seen, watch like the first 10 minutes. Totally worth it, because Alex, Lando, and who's the third one that comes on? There's one other driver. They all like come on the show at the same time and they're just like chatting with each other. Oh, it's Charles, of course. And at one point Will Buxton asks, I think Alex, about just like being in Monza and what he enjoys about it. And he says that Williams is staying in the same hotel as Ferrari and that he knows like whenever they're like arriving or leaving, because he like hears the Tifosi singing outside the hotel.
I love that.
Wow.
So cute. So sweet. And it's like the videos of just like fans everywhere so excited to like meet and support and cheer for Carlos and Charles was really, really sweet.
Honestly, I know we've talked about this and said that Monza was a bad fan experience last year if you went in person, but I was like, I'm ready to go.
It felt like it had great vibes this year.
Yeah. I was like, whatever changed, it's good.
That's good. Wait, I just was reading, actually, right when Grace called, I was looking at Carl. I like stay off of Instagram until I finish the race because
you have to.
You have to. So I was looking at Carlos's like posts and trying to see like what. So I was watching his story, and did you see his story that he posted about
Girl,
Milan?
Anne put something in the Instagram chat that's actually the video. So Carlos had his watch stolen,
Oh
and
my
then he ran
gosh.
after the thieves with his personal trainer, which I'm obsessed with that. I love his personal trainer. He's a British guy. They ran after and caught them and
And
got
the
the
video
watch
is
back.
Oh
the
my
video
gosh.
is just like when the police are arresting the thieves. And
And
Carlos and his
supposedly the
trainer are
Tifosi
still
helped
just
them
like
as well. Like
there.
people were like, "Oh, stop these people."
Oh my gosh. Is this like a thing? Because then in the one of the posts that you guys sent, it was like Charles chases in his car or something. Did
That
this
was like,
happen
how long
last
ago was
year?
that,
A
Annie?
while
Maybe
back, at least a
6
couple months
months?
ago. Yeah.
How
Charles
did
had his
they-
watch
2
stolen.
times.
I want to know how they just pull a watch off some, like how do they get close
Right?
enough to pull his watch off? Is it when
Think
he's like
about-
signing stuff or
It's
something?
got to be, right? And you're in that crush of people.
Yeah, and he's like
And you-
reaching out to get something.
Say
Mhm.
you're like, I feel like if you're a pickpocket, that's like your skill,
Impressive, to be honest. I'm like,
to be honest.
how are they? I was like looking at those pictures of him like signing people's stuff and thinking back to Budapest, and I was like, are those people paying to like be in those areas? How,
Some I think yes, but some I think no. What do you think, Anne?
And for the people who are just like outside their hotel or
That
outside
could have
their
been us in
entrance.
Budapest.
I know.
Outside
6
the entrance
hours
to the
later.
back, that's just people who show up.
Yeah, I guess. I know. I was like, I didn't really see a spot in Budapest where you could even like press up against a fence to like have them reach out to sign something for you. I don't remember seeing any.
I think we were
places
in
like
the
that.
wrong spot because I think
makes
it's like
sense.
at the other entrance to the track that we were like leaving and coming through the opposite entrance.
Yeah, no, that's true. Because that's where I got dropped off, and you could see like there's definitely an entrance for cars, like their cars or whatever.
Yeah.
Now, Grace,
Interesting.
what would you think about a fanfic of a driver falling in love with a pickpocket who steals their watch?
Ethical?
Ethical. Ethical. I allow it. I would read that.
It's kind of a Robin Hood story.
It would be really good if it was like they're stealing the watch to like make money
To give to the homeless, to the
to
unhoused.
pay for like some healthcare treatment to
For their sister who's dying of cancer.
yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Exactly. It gets dark, but that's where you want to go in fan fiction. You really want to get into those dark
Get
places.
right up to the line. Tiptoe across it, see what
Yeah.
catches.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have our Carlos fanfic. I was like so curious about that post. That's what I was about to dive into right when you guys called.
Crazy.
Interesting. Okay, good to know.
Crazy.
What do we think about? I really wanted to talk about Alex and his race.
I loved his race.
Yes.
He's every single race more and more. I'm just like best driver on the grid.
Yeah, he's pushing that Williams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, the fact that he kept Norris behind him
Mhm.
for like how many laps? That was insane.
Yeah, I don't even know how many laps. How many was that? Half the race? I don't know.
I know. I was gonna say. I think it was like 20 laps. And
It was basically the entire race, I think. There was one point where Hamilton like crashed with Oscar,
Oh,
and then
yeah.
Hamilton passed Lando, and then Hamilton passed Alex, but those two just kept following.
they were
each
just
other.
stuck on each
But
other.
in that
Mhm.
post-race interview that they were like both chatting with Will, Alex talked about how like his team specifically was hoping that they would have a McLaren behind them because they're so fast on the straights and McLaren is really slow on the straights. But that would be the easiest car to keep behind. And McLaren was thinking the opposite. We don't want to get stuck behind Alex.
Oh
my gosh.
funny.
I love
Their
that.
worst nightmare came true.
I'm telling you, that post-race show, gold.
So,
Okay.
oh, go ahead. I was
No,
gonna have.
go ahead. Keep going.
Okay, is Williams, because obviously Haas did the worst and has been now.
Haas is really.
They were the one
struggle.
team that was a full lap down.
Yeah, I saw that. So is Williams, I guess I haven't been keeping up. I'm like, is it that they're in tandem, they're working on and improving the car, or is it that like Alex is figuring out more and more with the car, or maybe a combination of both? Because
I think their car is legitimately better this year than it has been like since Drive to Survive started.
I think also James Vowles,
Mhm.
Fuels.
Just vowels.
It seems like he's made a lot of like internal changes to make them more functional.
Mhm.
Which is
He
like, I
definitely-
feel like something people have commented on about like Haas, where it's like they make these mistakes that have nothing to do with money, where you're like, this is where you definitely shouldn't be losing time. Like your stops should always be super fast, and like, you know, you can get better at your race calls without spending as much money.
Right, you don't want to have both your cars DNF because one of the wheels doesn't get put on correctly.
Oh gosh, yeah. Yes. Lest we forget.
Yeah, I think James Vowles was a really, really smart choice because he knew so much operationally from Mercedes that he's bringing to Williams. And Alex has just been like, he's been out driving that Williams all year long. They are 7th in the constructors, and it's only points from Alex. Logan Sargent is in the bottom of the championship.
Do we think Logan Sargent is going to stay? Predictions.
I actually had a thought this week. I'm like, I think this is the final nail in the coffin that I don't think he's going to stay. I mean, he got beat by, why am I blanking on his name?
Oh, Liam
in the
Lawson.
AlphaTauri. He got beat by Liam Lawson in an AlphaTauri in Liam Lawson's second race in Formula One. And AlphaTauri is a way worse car than Williams this year.
Yeah. Okay.
Which I feel like makes me be like, what's going on with, well, I don't know. I guess in my mind, I had thought he was improving a little bit.
Well, and part of it was he was fighting for 10th place, and they didn't really show this on the broadcast at all, but he like collided with Valtteri, and then they gave him a 5-second penalty, and that pumped him from 11th down to 13th.
Ooh. Rough.
But he
that's
the
racing.
stewards deemed him responsible for that.
So in this track, is this a track that's helpful for the Ferrari car? You know, like I'm just learning all these things about like the downforce and the thingamajig. Like, is this a track that's like specifically good for the Ferrari car as well?
I think the track is meant to, it has a lot of straights where you can go super fast and then just a few turns. So
it's a very low downforce track, which is good for Ferrari.
Okay.
And that's why the Williams did it well as well.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay. Interesting.
Versus like the McLaren is not good at those like straight line speeds.
Mm-hmm. That's why they struggled in Spa, except when it was raining.
The Red Bull's good at everything.
Yeah, unless you're a Red Bull.
Okay, here's my favorite stat from the weekend. Carlos has led the most laps outside of a Red Bull driver this season.
Because he led the first like 15, 16 laps.
Oh my gosh.
Right?
That's why I'm saying when he gets third, you're kind of like, he won this race.
Yeah. I actually was thinking that. I was like, so basically he won.
I said this to Sarah and she was like, no, he didn't win and you shouldn't be so excited. And I was like, what are you talking about? I'm very happy right
Sarah,
now.
the voice of reason, always.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay, let's talk about the Carlos Oscar beef, because has anyone seen those? There's like, was that from
I don't even remember what started it. They crash into each other? Yes, they did. And then Carlos was saying that it was all Oscar's fault.
Yeah, he was like, everyone knows you can't pass in that place of the track. I can't remember what track that was.
And he was saying like Oscar needed more experience and he wouldn't make mistakes like that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And then the last race, I think there was some beef between them. And then this race, I think it was during qualifying, where Oscar came behind Carlos and Carlos didn't know he was back there. And I don't know.
I didn't watch.
And then
quali,
Oscar
so
was like,
know.
What?
I started quali at the beginning of Q2 because I slept in too late.
This is shocking.
And then as soon as it was done, I had to go help my friends paint their house.
Yeah.
So basically, their feud is feuding.
And do we think it's about Lando? Like, all underlying it is Lando.
Ooh.
No.
Of course.
Okay, I was obsessing over the Lando like face while he was watching the podium in the middle of his interview.
Yes.
That's blowing up. If I
well, did you see him? There's a clip of him saying, "I'm sorry, I was just watching the podium."
Yes, that clip and his facial expression. I was like, if I didn't know what love looked like, that would be it. That's it. Like I'm not like
you're
oh
like, I do know what love looks like, and it's that.
That's it. Oh, swoon, goosebumps. Like seriously, so
Hands.
cute. So we think that Carlos is jealous a little because I don't think Lando and Oscar, I don't think Carlos has anything to be jealous about. That's my hot take.
No. I think they're buddies, and I think that's it. I don't think that Lando will ever enjoy a teammate as much as he enjoyed Carlos.
Yeah, Carlos set the bar pretty high.
Maybe he's just a jealous guy. That's in his nature. If his fanfics have taught me anything. No.
Okay, so you think maybe Carlos is jealous of Oscar. He just wants.
He's missing McLaren.
That I
do
get behind.
Yeah, he's missing McLaren. No.
You guys see that there was a like Monaco boys paddle outing?
Yes.
Oh,
so it was Max, Alex, Lando, and
who was the fourth?
It wasn't Carlos.
Did you say George already?
George. It was George. Yeah.
The fact that they hang out and do various activities outside of racing just warms my heart.
And they were like, all of them were asked about it on Thursday. And Lando made some comment of like, well, I was always on the team that won.
The amount of sass coming from that kid right now, I can't handle it.
And so they had like, I think they played twice and they like changed up who they were with between, and Lando won both times, and then there was someone who lost both times, and I can't remember who it was.
Okay. I
think it was George, but I could be wrong.
I bet it was George. Feels right.
But they're just so
I have a question for the teachers.
Okay.
Lando's in your classroom.
Oh no.
What's he doing?
I know exactly what Lando's doing. So
let's hear it.
Okay. Lando is the kid who, so I teach ceramics for all of the viewers that don't know. Lando is the kid who we all have a seating chart, and he pulls his chair over to sit next to his friend, Carlos, obviously. And that's not where his seat is. He's facing backwards. He's like making jokes to Carlos during lecture. And then he speeds through his freaking art projects just to be finished so he can sit there and do nothing. And his projects aren't even that good. And I do have specific students in mind as I'm thinking about this.
And Lando is a kid that you'll be learning about something in class, practicing doing something, and then you'll ask him about it, and he'll completely BS his way through an answer because he has zero clue what you're talking about because he has not been paying attention at all. But he's gonna pretend and make a joke out of pretending because he wants the attention.
But then, so like, despite all of that, you still have this like love-hate relationship with him. Because he knows
because he's so charming.
Yes, he knows how to be like, try and play into like, he wants to be your favorite kid so then he can get away with stuff. Yeah, I know 100%. It all too well.
Yes. Yep. Charles is a kid that will come in the day before to cram for like a test or a project because he wants to do really well, but he doesn't focus enough to put in the work consistently.
I feel like Charles is the kid that emails me 2 days before school starts to make sure he didn't miss his summer reading. Like, hello, Mrs. LaForce. I want to introduce myself. I'm Charles Leclerc.
I like Max that you just almost said another kid's name.
Max
is a kid who won't try at all and then will score like an A- on a test.
I hate those kids. I don't really hate those kids. I hate those kids as a student, not as a teacher. I love all my students, obviously, but
I have no favorites.
I have no
and then
favorites.
Carlos will be sitting next to Charles, trying so hard the entire time, and then gets the same score on the test as Charles.
No, I was gonna say Carlos like studies for 2 weeks, but he still gets a B+.
Yep, and Charles studies for 1 night and gets an A-.
That's Max. Max doesn't even study and he gets the A-.
Yes.
And he's like not in class. And you're like, how are you getting such good test scores?
And Danny Rick, he's disrupting your class.
Danny Rick has solid C's and he's not upset about it.
And throwing them across the room during work time. But then he is like too nice to actually get mad at him.
He's the one that when you're lecturing, him and his bestie can't stop laughing and you make them go stand outside.
Yeah. And you go talk to him and you're like, you're a great kid, but you can't do this.
You're like, I'm going to have to separate your seat for the rest of the year. And you make sure that they're not facing each other.
Yep.
George for sure. George is the one that is emailing before school. He's emailing.
Yes, he's a teacher's pet.
Yeah.
George feels like he's got a binder with like the assignments and everything's coded and color coded and like organized.
Yes.
And then when he gets a point wrong, he's going to argue it and be like,
and you ask for a 1-page paper and he gives you a 5-page paper.
Absolutely. He's sitting up front all year. Who have we missed? Yuki? What do we think about Yuki? He's in Spanish class, but he wants to be in culinary arts.
So he wants for every project to just cook something instead of doing something for class.
He relates all of his art projects to food.
He's like, what if I baked you something? That is also a skill.
Yes. I have legitimately had kids say something along those lines. Yeah.
I love that.
Lewis will
Lewis
be the kid that like
he just does everything right.
Anything you talk about in class, he will make sure that you are like inclusive and you are like using the like most inclusive vocabulary and like representing people of all different identities to the point where other students start to roll their eyes at him.
You think so? I don't think so. I want Lewis as my TA. That's who I'm choosing for my TA.
Oh,
I think Lewis would be a hard worker, but he would also be like, I saw someone looking over during the test.
Yes.
Yeah. I want Lewis to be my TA because I feel like he would be really good at teaching people.
Mhm.
I bet that's true. Okay, what about Alex Albon?
Oh, Alex Albon is like your favorite student.
Mhm. He's the one
He
that's
definitely
friends
is,
with
right?
everyone
Yeah.
and is just nice to everyone and
Yeah.
is super unproblematic.
Yeah. He's a great student. You
You
he's the
love him and
kid.
he gets like
Teacher
straight
conferences
B's.
come and you're like, Alex is one of my favorite students.
Yes. If I were to have favorites, which I don't, Alex would be. Alex, yeah.
He's a joy to have in class.
That's
Yes.
exactly that's teacher code for he's my favorite.
Yes.
Best. Oh my gosh, yeah. No, you want Alex. You want Alex in your class. And he probably honestly would take the class again because he likes you so much. Like he likes the class so much.
Mhm.
He's my advanced student. That's Alex.
Fernando, he's not in either of your classes because he's only in whatever the mechanics class of high school is.
He's an auto shop.
He's an auto shop.
Auto is a
Thank
class.
I knew there was a class.
Fernando, I could see who would be the person running like notes from the office to all the classes. Like, is he that kind of guy?
No.
Maybe Oscar. Oscar works in the principal's office.
Oscar's just sitting in the back doing a Jim Halpert.
Yes. Yep.
As Danny Rick makes a scene with Yuki.
Yeah, they would
Danny,
definitely.
Rick, and Yuki together in class would.
Yeah, Danny Rick's happy if
you would love him and you would hate him.
Yeah, Danny's a love-hate for sure. He would be super excited if he gets a C in your class. Like he thinks he's pulling D's and then he pulls out a C and he's stoked.
Yeah.
And you're like, how did he get a C? I don't understand. He turned nothing in.
I feel like Checo would try very hard.
Oh yeah,
but would
Checo.
be confused a lot.
Checo's asking a lot of questions. He's helping he's asking for help a lot. So yes. I would see him next to a strong student. Maybe put him next to Carlos or I would definitely see him next to maybe George. I would see him next to George and George would help him out.
Not or next Lewis. To Danny and Yuki.
Absolutely not. Absolutely.
He could get drawn into that drama too.
Exactly. Danny's an instigator. You know that he's the instigator.
Oh yeah, he's the instigator, but you still love him.
Okay, so maybe I would put Danny next to Oscar in my seating chart because
and Oscar would just be sitting there all the time like,
yes,
what is this dude doing? Why am I sitting next to him?
I do love the Oscar memes of like every time something wild happens and he's just like,
yeah, shows no emotion.
Nothing. What is that? Okay, what happened? Was it at the Dutch Grand Prix where they had the guy with the glasses that like when they were singing the national anthem before the race?
Oh, the wild.
And he had on these like glasses that looked like fire. It was a real like Elton John vibe. And Fernando's just like he's full on like
they're all trying not to laugh.
And everyone else is like,
and Oscar's just like no emotion. It's as if nothing's happening. You're like, how do you have no reaction to this? I did see who else was also holding back. There were a couple others holding back laughter in that too.
Yes, it was so amazing.
Did you see it when there was I think it was at the Austrian Grand Prix, Red Bull had like a skydiver or not it was
they had skydiving when Jamie and I went to the Long Beach Grand Prix and that felt wild. And that was like
that's for Indy.
Oh, and they fell and Oscar was just fell.
Like, yes, and Oscar was on camera when that happened.
Do you think how many of those drivers do you guys think are on like anti-anxiety medicine? Like, is that a product of his medication?
Stop. I think that's a product of being a Is he a Gen Zer?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a product of Gen Z. But I love this question. I love this question.
Okay.
I
Because
also too.
It's a thing right
allowed,
now.
do you think there's medications you're not allowed to take when you are in Formula One as a driver?
I would think so. I mean,
I would think that they monitor so many things so carefully that there must be a list of like prohibited substances that they drug test for.
Do you think they drug test them? Because I have to. Okay.
They
On
check
the one
their
hand,
weight
I'm
every
like,
single race. So I would think that they do.
you said what?
They like check their weight every single race before and after. So you would think that they would also drug test them.
Okay, I agree with you in that, like, logically, I feel like it feels true, right? Like, pilots get drug tested and can't take certain substances, and this is like super dangerous. But I also feel like it's a sport for rich people and they do whatever they want. So that makes me think no. What do you think,
I have to interject briefly related to drug testing. There's a Netflix show about the Tour de France.
I've been watching it.
Drive to Survive. I watched some of it. It's insane.
They're all doping.
Well, they used to
not
be.
Anymore.
Supposedly not anymore. But one of the people who's like running one of the teams today was like on Lance Armstrong's team when they were all doping. And like his team today is built around like, we are the anti-doping team.
Yes.
And they're not doing great.
And they're not doing great.
It's true. I'm about halfway through that show. I can honestly only watch like one episode at a time. It's so intense.
It's insane.
It's so intense.
They're all totally crazy.
They're
like more than Formula One drivers.
Yes.
You should watch it, Grace.
I'll put it on my list. I never finished the golf show, but I will try
there.
Biking seems crazy. It's so dangerous. They're going so fast.
Yeah.
And they don't have
drugs.
a staggered start at each day where it's like if this person is ahead by a minute the previous day, they start ahead by a minute. They all start together every single day. And so
like your brain is like, obviously you would keep it.
They start in this one giant pack of like more than 100 people.
It's very Formula One.
And they're all just together and it's terrifying and they all crash all the time. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's intense. I couldn't get through the golf one, but I did watch the tennis one. And that's also, I think the tennis one is more interesting, or obviously Drive to Survive is still my favorite, but I liked the tennis one because they actually featured some female tennis players. What a thought. But then they talk about like, I think what I like about these shows, the common thread that I've found with all these athletes is the mindset. And the tennis one really talks about the mindset of tennis players. And that was something I didn't really know going into learning about that sport. But each of the sports seems like they all have their mindset. Obviously you have to believe that you're going to achieve this pretty much unachievable thing. You have to be crazy enough to believe that you can do it. And that's where I'm like, these Formula One drivers, what medications are they on? What they are under such
lavender pills.
They're under such immense stress. What would be the equivalent of doping to Formula One?
Yeah. But you know what show they should really make? They should do a show about women's gymnastics. Because they are truly insane.
Yeah, that would be that, and figure skating too. Those. Yeah, I would watch both of those. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know what is the equivalent of performance enhancing for Formula One. And
let me bring my medical mumbo jumbo. Just kidding.
Bring it in. I was gonna say,
I have
a follow-up question after.
I wonder if you would take a beta blocker, which sometimes is used for people who have fear of public speaking, sort of anxiety stuff, and it just lowers your heart rate and makes you feel way more chill.
that seems like you would need that for the sport.
But I mean, I don't know what else they're doing for the rest. I don't know. It seems like I don't know.
Okay, here's my other question, my follow-up question. If like in the like how you're like everyone's doping, like so if they're all doing it, then what's the ethics of it then? Because they all are getting the unfair advantage.
It's such an interesting question, right? Because like I think I'm with you on the like if they're all doing it, then go off, I guess. But then to me, I'm like, but you shouldn't have to do it to be competitive because it is often not good for your body to be doping, right? Like a lot of the things that people do when they're doping are bad for like your long-term cardiovascular health. So, or fertility, or, you know, there's lots of things that can be impacted by different medications people take to increase performance. So you feel like, well, you shouldn't have to do those things. So then that makes me feel like we should be anti-doping. What do you think, James? Pro or anti-doping?
I think at the end of the day, I think the right answer should be anti. But then there's this part of me that's like, okay, is it going to be as interesting to watch?
And
we're
talking Formula One here, right?
Yes.
I'm a rule follower, so definitely anti-doping. But I think a big part of this conversation is like what constitutes doping.
Because I'm pro cheating with your car.
Give us an example. What's car cheating?
I guess I just
like, would you have supported McLaren when they stole stuff from Ferrari?
On the one hand, I'm kind of like, I feel like it should all be open source with their cars. If we're really trying to make their cars as fast as they can possibly be, it should be open source where it's like they're improving from sharing knowledge.
Yes.
And then like you can copy each other, but if everyone's a copy of each other, you're all going to be the same. So you do have to do some like development that doesn't involve copying to actually be the fastest, I think.
Then would we have another NASCAR situation on our hands?
Well, I'm not saying that they should all be the same cars. I'm saying they should all share their data and the way they made their car.
Okay. And then, yeah, I see what you're saying.
Anne looks so unhappy. She's like, that is a disgusting idea.
No, I just think that it would take away a lot of the competition of how teams build their cars because they would all just be copying whatever car was fastest.
But then the added part that Grace said of like, then you have to put in the work to try and like figure out how to improve still.
But then when you do improve, it's all made public. And so then people just copy you.
Fair.
And then they have to try and improve and it's made public too. I don't know. Maybe it's like it gets shared at the end of every season. Everyone has to open
could be interesting.
All their data, all their car design at the end of the season. Be much more especially in the case with like Red Bull this last season, where it's like they were so dominant at the end of the last season. If it would have been like open source and you would have been allowed to copy this season, you still have a very limited amount of time to make those changes. But you could have had maybe cars that were closer to each other in development, but then you still have the season where you're like developing the car to see like, can you bring it up to snuff?
And I mean, the cars that made big jumps this year were Aston Martin and McLaren, who were copying Red Bull.
So let's just make the covert overt.
And even like Mercedes and Ferrari, as they've been making adjustments, they're making adjustments to be more similar to Red Bull.
Yeah. Or is there a way in which they could just be like, okay, you have to make these specific things public, but not everything is public. So you have like stuff about the end. I don't know what would be important to make public and what wouldn't. But so you could have a few secrets up your sleeve, but there were a few things
I think the
that were
floor
public.
is the biggest deal right now.
Oh, interesting.
Right, Grace?
I don't know that for sure, but it seems true from what I see on the TV.
Which the like craziest and best part about Williams actually being decent this year,
Their floor looks.
It's the simplest floor out of any car that has like been taken up on a crane, and we've gotten a picture at the bottom this year.
So are they able to like, I mean, obviously you can see what you can see from the outside. So are teams like looking at all of that, or like, are there spies? Do we think there's spies in these garages?
Yes. Yes.
Grace is joining Fernando along on the dark side.
I love when they're walking by the cars and they're like, oh, Inspector Lewis is taking a peek over here. And like the driver's like looking around the cars. So yeah, is that what you mean by cheating with the car? Like send someone
Yes.
in and try and figure out as much as you can.
Yes.
I would take, okay, ethics of taking that job. If you could work in, that was
Jamie's
your
like,
only
I would
way.
take that job.
That was your only way to work in the F1 industry.
You're a double agent.
And then that's how you meet Carlos.
Okay, and what team do you work for, James?
I was gonna ask you the same thing. I love an underdog situation, so I kind of want to go for Haas.
Wow. And
But
who are you
Ferrari
going
gives-
undercover to win from?
I mean, I feel like the obvious is Red Bull.
But then how do you meet Carlos, Jamie?
I'm not in it for meeting Carlos right now. I'm really in it to win it. Like I want to bring. I'm a Gunther girly. I want to help Gunther
She's
get.
in it to
up
meet
the
Gunther.
top. I want to read. Actually, I was also going to ask who's reading Gunther's book, because that's.
I have not.
Let's make a little We Don't Know Wheel book club and read what drivers' books are out right now.
I would do that with you.
Including the ones that you guys all listed on the last episode, because I want to read all those books. Great suggestions.
I'm into that idea.
Who would you guys go undercover for?
I go undercover for McLaren.
It's a good choice.
I go undercover for Williams.
Mm,
And that's how I meet Carlos.
that's a good one. That's a good one. So would you work undercover at Ferrari?
No. At Red Bull, but I would somehow become friends with Lando because I'm working undercover for McLaren.
And that's how you meet Carlos.
It's complicated, guys.
I think there's an Avril Lavigne song about that. I love it.
Yeah. But I would watch a movie about McLaren stealing materials from Ferrari when Fernando Alonso was there.
Yes.
Oh, I don't know this past history.
It was when Fernando and Lewis were both at the team. And McLaren got disqualified from the Constructors' Championship and both Drivers' Championship. Or like the Drivers' Championship for both drivers.
How were they placing? Do you know?
I don't know.
Did
But still.
Fernando go to Ferrari
Saucy.
before or after that?
Oh,
I have no idea.
that is saucy.
It was.
That
I
is-
think it was after he won his.
He went
World
from Renault to Ferrari to
Championships.
McLaren. That doesn't feel right. Because he won with Renault when he was really young. Like I want to say 2021. We don't know wheel.
I want to say he won his World Championships with Renault in like 2005, 2006.
Okay. And then he was at Ferrari like 2006, 2007. 1 year. I don't
Can I
know.
look this up?
That
What?
is Interesting.
Did you see the reel that I sent you? That's just Fernando, like through the years, all the years he's been in F1.
Was it on
He looks
Instagram?
so different when he's
Mhm.
young.
Funny, I haven't seen it yet.
Go watch it and tell me which era is the hottest Fernando.
I think it's the short hair when he's young. Looks so weird.
Do you like that, Anne?
You think it looks weird?
Okay, he won with Renault in 2005 and 26. Sorry, 2005 and 2006.
And then
I'm working on it.
yeah, but Fernando, he's full of an underhanded trick, and I like that. Oh, let's talk about Fernando in this race. Not
Mhm.
great. What'd you think, James?
Well, okay. I honestly am always looking at the gap between Fernando and Stroll. Where did Stroll end?
I feel like near the bottom.
Bottom. At one point, he was dead last, I think, and I was
Yeah,
just like,
Stroll's on a struggle, but also like, Pierre was like
yes.
dead last for a big chunk of this race, and he literally basically won the last race. If we're speaking in the way,
If we're forgetting Red Bull exists.
if we're forgetting Red Bull exists, Pierre also won last week.
I noticed that. Here's my thing with Pierre is I don't think he's that consistent of a driver. That's my hot take.
I
I
think
do
it's
love
okay.
Pierre,
I like
though.
the
Or
hot take. I hear it. I see
Yeah.
it. He is a bit of a wild card.
Yeah.
Well, also, the Renault engine is terrible.
Is that what it is?
They're the only team with it. And
Woof.
Monza is only about having a fast engine because it's all straights.
Where did Ocon? Oh, he DNF'd, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, no one knows
that's right.
why.
Gosh.
Yeah, the Renault engine is awful.
Okay.
Teams used to like bring a special engine just for Monza
Oh my gosh.
because that's how important it is to have a good engine.
Interesting. Okay. So maybe that's why he is looking inconsistent. I just noticed, yeah, same thing. I'm like, why was he first last week and this week?
Well, doesn't it seems like the rain is a big equalizer too. So if your car's
Sure.
not as good, but you're a good driver in the rain and you've got some good team strategy, you can pull something out of your butt.
That's true. That's why I love the rain races. It is nice. It does give people a fighting chance. I'm just always crossing my fingers that a Red Bull is gonna spin its way out of there.
I was literally watching the race this week, like maybe Max will have engine failure.
That's really our only hope, is that the car is its own demise.
Yes. That's how you actually spy. That's real cheating when you go in and
You like do something to the Red Bulls.
harm the car.
Love. That's
I
some
think
car-based cheating.
yeah. I saw something from Zach Brown where he was like, let's be honest though, and be really real about how dominant Max is actually, because if Max was not at Red Bull and it was two Checos or whatever, like, yeah, they're still very fast, but it wouldn't feel like the championship had been run away with.
That's true. I think
I
that
do think one
people
thing that would be different is if Max wasn't there, the car wouldn't be built around him. So it would be easier for whoever was driving. So I think part of the reason why Checo is struggling so much is that the car is built entirely around Max, and Checo is having to adjust his driving style. So he's
That
not
a
as fast.
Checo stan. No.
I mean, that's what happened to Alex. That's what happened to Pierre. That's what was going to happen to Danny.
But also, like,
No one likes the pointy end as well as Max does. Sorry, Grace.
The fact that Max can get that car built to the way he's going to drive it and then be so dominant is in its own way impressive. Like, Charles surely is not doing that. Don't come at me for that.
I was gonna say, so is Charles still the Ferrari golden boy?
I think he is. What do you think, James? After watching what you saw?
I really liked the comment at the last lap of the race when on the radio when they're like, don't risk anything, race till the end.
And then Charles dive bomb.
I know. And I was like, I mean, they gave him kind of contradictory messages there. I don't know. It feels like they don't want to. I was trying to think of, I was like, this race specifically, I feel like could have highlighted who is their favorite or who their, I don't know. Yeah. Who's their golden
Who
boy?
is their predestined?
Yeah. Cause they definitely could have told Carlos at multiple points, I thought, to like step aside. But I also had a thought of like, he earned pole, and that would be kind of rough to like ask the person who earned pole to like move over for the next, I don't know.
And to me, it didn't feel like there was a point where Charles was telling Ferrari, I am faster than Carlos.
Yeah.
You need to let me buy him. There wasn't a point like that, even after
I think there
Max
was when they made them
Carlos.
box. When they made them box, Charles said, like, I'm faster than Carlos. So then they let them box, which let them switch orders very briefly. And then Carlos came out in front of him. And Carlos had a slow pit stop. And I don't know. But I honestly think it's good for like, I felt like it was good for team spirit morale, because it made people be like, oh, they're really letting them like go for it. And like, let's see who's really doing the best this weekend.
Yeah.
Because wouldn't it have been like, I feel like I would have had such a bad taste in my mouth if they would have been, even if they would have said like, no, just leave Carlos alone or switch places, both would have been like, So
no, I agree.
I'm pro the fight to the end. And I love that Charles is the kind of person who's like, I'll risk this whole race.
Truly. I think, what was it? There's a couple like previous races, like of like historical races where like didn't Danny and Max take each other out at one point, and I think the McLarens too.
Yeah.
And you're always just like, you guys are such idiots. I feel like that's my knee-jerk reaction. But then watching virtually the same thing in this case, I'm like, okay, I can see how that can happen, because they are racing at the end of the day.
It's called racing.
It's called gloves off racing. That's what at the end the announcers.
We were racing.
Yeah, they were racing. I don't know. I think you're right. I think I would have been, if they had told Carlos to like yield to Charles, I would have been pretty bummed.
Oh yeah.
That would have been.
They were literally chanting Carlos so loudly that you like couldn't hear the Dutch national anthem.
Yeah. I think I saw online that they just played the audio of the anthem and not the audio of like the track for the TV broadcast, because you wouldn't be able to hear it.
Carlos, like,
or booing Max.
Oh, that's
I
cool.
heard the audio and I didn't hear booing.
There was I heard booing when he was being interviewed for his second place in qualifying.
Oh.
And then there was a very sweet video of Charles like, stop booing.
Yeah.
Jamie's like, whatever.
I don't know. I think what you were saying about Max and like recognize, I feel like people are being like, okay, we know that Red Bull has the superior car, but let's also like give Max some credit for his skills. Like, he's not just as good as he is because of the car. So I think that's accurate. But I think at the end of the day, it's just more interesting when you don't have one superior driver. But I don't think we should be booing people. I don't know. I'm not here
Yeah.
for a boo.
I
Unless
I think
it's
we also got spoiled as Formula One fans in 21 and 22 because there was not one team that we knew was going to win from the beginning of the year.
sure.
yeah.
And now we're
I thought
kind
you were
of
going to say
back.
like there wasn't this booing and bad sportsmanship, and I was like, I don't think so. Yeah, I can
mean,
see that.
Lewis got booed, Seb got booed.
I don't understand the
Kinda
point
comes with the
of
territory.
booing.
Yeah,
I
don't
guess.
boo.
But-
Just cheer for your people you're fans
Yeah.
of.
Yeah.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's a new hot take. I think, like they always interview the top 3, but like give me the midfield trophy. Give me
Yeah.
the interview with who got 10th and who got 11th.
Mm,
Like
that's a battle.
I didn't even realize that Bottas got 10th till like a while after the race. And I was looking at the results.
Yeah.
I was like, wait, Bottas got a point.
Like
Yeah.
it should be top 3 and 10th because I want to
Mhm.
see the team that was like,
agree.
we clawed our way here.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or Fernando Alonso be like, how are we in 10th? We're supposed to be at the podium.
Yeah, like give me that interview too on the track.
Totally.
On the track.
I totally agree, because especially when it's a Red Bull 1-2, like we've
I
heard
see
it.
both of them. No.
Yeah. Good to see it. Okay, let's go over. Like, I would love to hear more from like, yeah, those midfield fights. Like, I loved I wish that they showed more of the Alex Albon Lando stuff. Like, that was such good, cool and good racing. And
I will say, I think the second half of the race, like they basically didn't show Max, which that was kind of hilarious.
I
They were
feel-
just like, we have a lot of other stuff to cover today.
that I actually have been enjoying that. They've been backing off on that, I think, more this season, because
Yeah.
what is
there
there
to
to
watch?
show? Except for they did pan back over to Max basically right when he was about to cross the finish
Yeah,
line.
they always do.
They're like,
Yeah.
all right, here's his historical win.
I was watching with my friends who I helped paint their house this weekend, and one of them, the second half of the race, kept complaining, like, they're not even showing Max and he's winning. Why are we watching this?
You're like, there's nothing to see because he's 6 seconds up the road from everyone else.
And it was more, my friend was complaining about the fact that he was winning by so much that there was no reason to show him. Like that he was, yeah. He was annoyed that there wasn't an actual competition for the lead. And I was sitting there, I didn't actually say this to him, but I should have said, like, this is the closest we've come to having a fight for the lead this entire year.
This was a close race. No.
I was gonna say he only he didn't lap the entire field like he normally
Only a few
does.
cars.
Only the back few.
And well, he was only 6 seconds ahead of Checo at the very end.
Yeah.
And Checo was like 5 seconons ahead of Carlos.
So
Closest
think
a
about when
non-Red
we
Bull
were
car
in.
has been yet without a safety car.
So
Yeah.
wild.
Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah, compared to Budapest.
I know.
Very different.
But I will say there were not a ton of passes because it seemed like it was really difficult to pass at Monza.
Seems like it's that
But-
one corner
Yeah,
where they like go off the road. I was like, they like built that into the track. That is so funny.
but because there were so many closely contested positions in the top 10, it still made it fun to watch. Even though not a ton of passes actually happened, it
Mhm.
felt so close, so much.
Well,
of
and
that
it
made
felt
fun.
like they were
Yeah.
trying to pass
They were.
a lot.
Mhm.
And that
It
was really
wasn't-
enjoyable.
Yeah, it wasn't people just following like 3 seconds behind.
No.
It was
like,
as George Russell says, I have a car in my ass.
Yeah, which they bleeped out.
Yes.
So good.
George
I
Russell.
think that wins the best radio of the weekend for me.
Oh, who did you guys vote for driver of the day? Or
I
would
didn't
you have?
watch it
Grace
until
didn't watch it
after because
live.
I was at work.
Who would you have voted for?
Carlos. He won driver of the day.
I know,
He
but you
did.
know.
I
Just
vote
in
for him
case.
every week. No, I don't. I'm a fair judge for driver of the day, please.
And
I
did you
voted for
vote?
Checo. I think I'm a little more biased than Grace.
Mm,
He had a
That's
good drive.
literally, he had a fine drive, but
He had
I
a really
wouldn't.
good drive. It was so hard to pass. Even Max couldn't pass Carlos for 15 laps.
Max knew that he was going to. He was just like, it felt like you were watching a cat with a mouse. Like he was like,
mhm. I was here for it.
But I will say, I think Carlos was an extremely deserving winner.
Yeah, no, he was.
you just called him, a driver of the day.
Yeah.
I was like, of the race.
Of the both.
He's both a race winner and driver of the day.
I mean, I guess I just love Alex Albon, and I was like, I guess he also just had such a good race. He would have
Yeah.
also been up there for me.
Yeah, I totally agree.
Carlos driving on those tires at the end, I'm assuming he really had to work.
Slip sliding around. Yeah, let's read some of my favorite Tumblr hot takes here. Okay, these are in the group chat. I like this one. This must have been from like the first part of the race when Max is trying to pass Carlos, and it says, Carlos, shunt him next time. Hit him with your ass and be on your way. The tags are Carlos Sainz Jr., F1, Italian GP 2023, anti-Verstappen. I liked this one. It was a picture of the cool down room, and it says Max Verstappen's cool down room podcast, episode 15. Welcome to the pod, Carlos.
That's one of my faves. That's so good.
I was so happy that Carlos got his first podium this year.
I know,
too.
So exciting.
Okay, are you ready for the hot yuck take?
Lay it on us.
I am so sick of this team and their bullshit. We could have had a double podium, and we all know this. I'm tired of them trying to protect Sainz and his dumb butt feelings. I'm gonna
Complete.
bleep
Make it
well here.
PG-13.
Charles was faster, yet they continued to keep him behind Sainz. It's hard to bleep. The bleeper defends harder against his own teammate than he did the Red Bulls. I bleeping hate this guy so much. It's not even funny. I'm sick of the politics he brings into the team. It would be one thing if it brought us a good bleeping car, but it's just trash all around from him.
Whoa.
So insane.
The shade.
Like, they've lost their minds.
Like,
bleeping
what
shade.
is happening? Then they put in the hashtag. So it's just like hashtags Charles, Scuderia Ferrari, Carlos. Hashtag, and we're supposed to believe they want to renew with Charles. I was dead. I love the Tumblr hot takes because it doesn't have the same sort of like toxic masculinity, but it still is just as deeply unhinged as the rest of the F1 community.
Oh
my gosh. It's, yeah. What would you, if you were to post on your Tumblr about today's race, what would you be posting?
I don't know. I'm not a like I don't think I reblogged anything from that I saw that I liked, but let me check. I think I would just be like race winner, driver of the day. That's my boyfriend. That would be a good
That's
Tumblr
the hot
take.
take.
Yeah, that's the hot take. People love it that way.
Just some good, clean fun.
Just some good, clean fun, people. Come on.
Let's keep it light and lovely.
Yeah. I do love all the stuff about like how what is it with people wanting to steal Ferrari driver watches? You know they will chase you. Charles with his car, all caps, Carlos will run.
I get a chance to see Carlos run in person. Worth it.
Worth it. I love it. Yeah.
Yeah, the things people post, obviously, ethics questionable. What are we sending out into the universe?
Yeah.
For real.
Especially blanket statements like that. We all know it. Let's be clear. I am part of this all that we're talking about, and I don't know it. So take it back.
I feel like it falls into that same stuff as like the Max Lewis stuff, where you're just like, I feel like it's so basic to just love one and hate the other.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think it's a zero-sum game.
And it also,
Love is not
to
a finite
me,
resource.
it feels like Abu Dhabi 21, it's 2 years ago now. And there are people who are legitimately not over it. Or at least that's how they talk online. I'm just like,
And it's like
not have anything
2023,
better?
move on.
Do you not have anything better in your life to think about besides like feeling hurt that to you Max stole the championship from Lewis, or the FIA stole the championship from Lewis? Or do you not have something better in your life than to hate Lewis Hamilton because he dominated the sport for 7 years? Like,
It's
touch
tired.
grass, people.
Mhm.
And touch grass.
Touch grass. I think we should be, if anyone's sending hate anywhere, we should be sending it towards the FIA. They're the ones that
Yes.
are like unhinged.
Okay.
They're ruling.
Have you heard that there's like discussion about if Italy should have 2 Formula One races?
Supposedly after 25, they're not going to anymore.
I love the Americans in the comments like, I don't need a Miami GP.
Yeah, I would give up Miami.
Like, why does America get 3? And there's one in Canada and one in Mexico and one in Brazil. So like you're covering the Americas like pretty well.
So they're going to get rid of this track. They're not getting rid of Monaco,
Monaco is in Monaco.
but it's like tangential, right?
No.
Okay.
Monaco's on the
Please
coast of
edit this
France.
out. Please edit this out.
I'm not editing this out. I love it. They speak French in Monaco.
I thought
Charles
Okay.
speaks French.
he
I
also
think-
spoke Italian. Why is never
Well,
mind.
yeah, because he loves Ferrari. He learned Italian.
Okay. Well,
But there are two races in Italy.
There's Imola and Monza.
mm,
So
So
and Imola got
I-
canceled this year. So
Yeah.
we'll give you a free pass on that confusion.
Thank
but
you.
supposedly they could alternate.
And Monza and Monaco sound very similar.
Thanks, Grace. Love ya.
We'll
I
excuse it.
heard
We don't
that
know wheel here.
I don't know, Will.
I heard that if Red Bull get a 1-2 in the next race and Mercedes doesn't get more than 2 points, Red Bull's going to clinch the constructors already.
I'm
Is this
not
the
angry
earliest
about that.
ever? I mean,
Isn't that crazy?
I'm more like, wow, is this the earliest that's ever happened? There's
don't
no
know.
debate about who's getting constructors. We all know it's going to be Red Bull.
It's gonna be Ferrari.
Haas.
Ferrari is
I'm going in
probably
for Haas.
statistically eliminated at this point.
Sounds like it's actually physically impossible.
What is this the earliest in any season
I
that
have no
constructors
idea.
has been?
I
So
have no
it's
idea.
so the rankings right now are Red Bull, Mercedes,
Red Bull, Mercedes,
Ferrari.
Ferrari, Aston Martin, McLaren,
So
Alpine, Williams.
Williams is
It's
still
shocking
down
that
there?
Alpine is doing better than Williams, except when you
Yeah.
think about the fact that Alex is the only one scoring points for them.
Well, and Esteban and Pierre have both gotten podiums.
Mm.
10 drivers have gotten podiums this year, half the grid,
That's kind of impressive. I enjoy that.
right?
Yeah, that's because the
'Cause
rest of the grid is so like
Is
close together.
Fun,
Because
yeah.
it's both Red Bulls, both Ferraris, both Mercedes.
McLaren.
So that's 6.
Has Oscar gone to podium?
Lando. Oh, both Alpines. So okay, so that's 8, and then Lando and Fernando. That's 10.
Not Lance though.
No.
Womp womp.
What is the rumor that Lance is going to tennis? I love it.
Love it. Can't wait to see him in the next Netflix show. Can't wait. I am ready. Who would you guys put in Lance's place?
Annie? I put Carlos there. I would love to do a little Spanish.
Ooh.
Yeah, that could be great. That could be really fun. And then who would you move to Ferrari? Alex?
I want Alex to be a golden boy wherever he goes.
I know.
Yeah, that's the problem. Like, you're going to Ferrari, you're number 2. I saw someone saying, like, I think that Carlos is going to Red Bull. And I was like, I do not think that will ever happen. I love it though.
I think
I think Lando or Oscar is gonna go to Red Bull.
I hope Oscar goes. He really has the Red Bull vibe. He's giving
Yes.
great energy.
I feel like his chillness is very similar to how Max, when he's not on the track, can be very chill.
I hope he goes to Red Bull, and I hope they come to blows with each other because of like a racing incident.
I hope. Yeah, do you hope they take each other out?
Yes. And I think they take each other out, and it's some issue where like Oscar runs into Max essentially. And then Max comes at him with the like push him, and Oscar's just like, whatever. And doesn't respond.
Oscar's people radio him and are like, are you okay? And he just kind of shrugs.
I'm a cool girl. That's what Oscar says. Is Oscar the ultimate cool girl?
No.
Who
Do
is?
you think that Zhou Guanyu is going to lose his seat at Alpha?
Oh, I hope not.
I really hope not, but it sounds like he might, and I feel like he shouldn't. Like, I don't think he deserves to lose his seat.
Has he scored any points yet this year?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's driving better than Bonus most weekends.
Okay.
He's not going to lose his seat. Is he?
It really sounds like he is. It's like something about like the team thought he was going to bring in more sponsorship money from China, and it hasn't been enough or something.
That's
Rude.
a bummer.
Yeah.
It's all rumors.
Yeah, I hope it's
but
not
it
true.
doesn't sound good.
He's not losing it for 2024, is he? It's 2025 that we're all talking about. What?
No, his contract is up after this year.
But who would take his place?
Theo Pucher, who's a Alfa Romeo Academy driver.
Alfa Romeo has their own
Felipe
academy?
Felipe Drogovic, maybe. Or,
yeah.
Well, like a Red Bull Academy member or Ferrari Academy. Yeah.
So
or young driver or whatever you want to call it.
Does Ferrari have their own academy?
Yes.
Checo was part of it.
Oh, wow.
So was Charles.
No,
not Carlos.
Charles. Carlos was in the Red Bull Academy.
Red Bull. Jamie.
Anyway.
What would you do, Jamie, if Danny Rick got Checo's seat at Red Bull?
I was going to say, I think that Danny Rick is getting that seat before either of the current Ferrari drivers. That's my hot take.
I don't think Charles will ever leave Ferrari.
Yeah, no.
And it will be to his detriment.
Who was it? Was it Sebastian Vettel that stuck it out there for a while?
Yeah.
And wanted to get the world championship with Ferrari, never did.
Yeah.
Yep.
Like 2014 to 2020.
That's a long time.
Is Red Bull changing their engine next year? that a thing, or am I making that
Yes
up?
and no. So they've been getting a Honda engine.
Yeah.
But then Honda pulled out and they basically kept the same team but called it a Red Bull engine.
Oh, so Red Bull
Yeah.
has their quote unquote own engine, but it's Honda. Okay.
Mm-hmm. But
Got
in a couple
it.
years, they're going to be partnered
Made
with
their
Ford.
own engine team.
Yeah. Red Bull
Okay.
powertrains.
So Red Bull, are we going to be seeing like Red Bull cars driving around out on the road?
No.
Not including like the giant like promo Red Bull cars. Like, I want to drive a Red Bull. Should we be
The
driving
cars
that
that
for our
have
next?
the Red Bull drink on top of them,
Yes.
that engine will be a Red Bull engine.
Exactly.
Can you imagine? Perfect.
I was driving the other day and I was behind an Alfa Romeo, and I've never seen an Alfa Romeo in Santa Barbara IRL.
I've never seen an Alfa Romeo.
I hadn't either. I was like,
Oh, I see him.
in Chico? Up in Chico?
They're all over in Chico. You wouldn't believe.
I wouldn't believe.
Mm-mm.
That was fun. I was trying to think of, okay, and so the next year we're getting Audi on the grid?
26.
No. Oh, 26. We got some time.
And is Audi taking
26.
over Alfa Romeo?
Okay.
But next year, Alfa Romeo is not going to be Alfa Romeo. It's going to be Sauber.
I love a Sauber.
I'm glad there's not another team that starts with Alpha or an A.
Well, next year, AlphaTauri is most likely not going to be AlphaTauri.
You're going back to Toro Rosso.
No, there was
That would be
some
dope.
crazy, like very stupid sounding name that they're supposedly going to be.
What? All the name changes.
I know.
Anne and I saw an AlphaTauri store when we were in
We did.
Austria.
Was it Austria?
Mm-hmm.
Just pop in and
yes,
look
it
around.
was Vienna.
We thought about it, but it looks like too fancy for us.
Very fancy. Their boats are expensive.
But then I feel like I read that essentially like AlphaTauri was told to change their name to AlphaTauri to then
fit
sponsor.
with the Red Bull brand.
Yeah.
To sponsor the team.
Obsessed with that.
Interessante. Okay. All the changes. Are we
Yeah.
halfway through the season? When are we at the halfway part? Or have we already
We're
made it?
past.
We're
8
past
races
it.
left.
Jeez. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Feels like for some reason it did. Oh, I guess we did get one race canceled. So where are we at next? Where is the next race?
Singapore's, which means
we go to
the
Singapore,
thirst
James?
trap workout videos are coming.
Ooh.
And the ice tubs.
Ooh, we
Get 'em
love
in
the
those
ice
steam
tubs.
rooms working out.
Yes. I will bet you good money there's going to be a video of Carlos in a steam room and a video of Carlos with a duck in an ice bath this week and next week.
Classic. Okay, Singapore. Would I go to Singapore? I would go to any of the races, if I'm being honest.
Let's sell our home and travel the world.
Let's sell my California home that I don't own anyway. Gladly.
Happy to do it. It's not a sacrifice.
No. I would take the job. I would sacrifice my life in Santa Barbara and take the job as
the spy.
I would do the spy, Avi. I've been training since I was a kid. But I would also do the like on the road tutoring gig. And I would specifically, not just because I am an art teacher, but I think these boys need to unwind a little bit. I've seen their artistic promo videos. They need some right brain creative thinking.
Did you see the
Practice.
Oscar and Lando painting each other video?
Oh dear. I don't know if I want to. No, I do want to. That'll be great.
Well, they also only give them like 5 minutes to do it.
Rough. Just
Yeah.
a quick gesture.
And like only primary colors.
Woof. That's rough.
Yeah.
Probably just
was
really
hilarious.
terrible.
We said you can have orange or you can have blue.
I would just do a monochromatic at that point, teach a little value. Yeah, that would be such a fun job. We're just on the road. I'm helping them unwind.
I would take the job as the reproductive health nurse. I would do their STD testing for them.
Safe sex is good sex.
They
Who
need
wants
a midwife.
condom? You get a condom and you get a condom.
Yeah. Is that not an existing job?
I think that is probably a great job. None of these boys can afford to get an STD.
No.
And we can go into their intimate lives another day.
Jamie.
Off camera.
Love
Before we end, do you guys want to hear what I found out about the scandal?
She's got some Fernando info for us. Let's
Oh
hear
So
it.
gosh.
Jamie.
it was
This just in.
2007. It was McLaren stealing info from Ferrari. McLaren got removed from the Constructors' Championship. The drivers still kept their points. I was mistaken about that one. And I think McLaren was claiming that Renault stole information from them.
Wait, so McLaren didn't steal information? They did.
They did. But then they were also claiming that
Was
Renault
McLaren
stole
using a
information
Renault
from them, I
engine at the
think.
time?
I don't know.
That's where I think the most like cheating can happen, because when they're using one of the other team's engines, they're like sharing data a little bit, right? To improve the engine.
Well, it has not been helping Haas or AlphaTauri this year.
Whose engines are they using?
Haas uses Ferrari.
AlphaTauri's Red
AlphaTauri.
Bull.
That makes sense. Duh. I didn't know that Haas used Ferrari.
But then why is
Mhm.
AlphaTauri so bad? Just kidding.
That's my question.
So bad.
They should at least, I'm like, okay, so are they like purposely leaving out the critical information about the engine?
I don't know. But the engine is very different than like the aerodynamics of the
The
car,
chassis.
Sure.
the chassis. And I feel like what Red Bull should be doing is they should give AlphaTauri their chassis from the previous year.
They're not allowed to. They wanted to, but they're not allowed
I know.
Oh, how
But they should.
strange.
It's just a little light cheating, and that's the kind of cheating I condone. Well, this has been lovely. I think this might be our longest episode yet.
Oh my
I think
goodness.
A
so.
real wind about where we barely discussed the race or qualifying, but we've
We
gotten into
discussed the
it.
important things.
Yeah, we've hit the peak things.
And it was a fun race. I
It was-
enjoyed watching it.
It was a very fun race. You also definitely invited us on a teacher tangent there, Grace.
That was
I
fun.
thought it was a good I thought it was a good tangent.
I loved that.
it, but you invited it.
I was here for it. I would do it
Well,
again.
We'll see you all in
100%.
Singapore.
Yeah, Singapore. 2
Singapore.
weeks.
2 weeks? Okay.
Yay.
All right.
I have time to go back and watch all the promo videos from this last race I didn't watch.
I'm telling you, post-race show. So
Okay.
good.
I will be watching that.
Okay.
All right. Thanks for having me.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.